Yo, we're live today, and I haven't been live in a while. I'm back at my house. Those of you guys who follow the journey, we are gonna have some fun today. We got my man from No Quit Living coming in to join us. So let's get this guy in. Quick fun conversation. How you guys doing in the world? I don't know where you're located, man. I'm curious. I'm back in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah,
What's up, man?
how are you, sir?
I'm good. I was just telling people I'm in the Bay Area. I'm curious where everybody's at because I just got home from a cross-country road trip. We drove from California straight through. Well, we stopped a bunch of places to Florida, and then we got there, and now we came in on back. Hey, Randy Garn, my man Randy G's on. How you doing, man? Introduce yourself to the people. My man Mel's on also. Let everybody know who you are so we know who you are.
I appreciate it. I'm Christopher J. Worth from No Quit Living. We have a podcast. We do a lot of speaking, coaching, and training with a lot of sports teams, college teams. And you were a guest back on episode 252, which, as crazy as it sounds, it seems like it was yesterday, but I think we actually recorded in February, which is nutty. But to your point about the road trip, you sent me a voice message on, I forget where you were driving through, and you're like, hey, I'm not going to text now, I'm driving, but I forget exactly where you were going through.
I don't know where I was going. I mean, I had so many messages. I literally did all my work on the road, man. So we got people from Laguna Beach, my man Mel. We got Seattle in the house, Colorado Springs. I'll be there in July, the 8th to the 10th. Man, yeah, it was a long drive, but it was good. I'm excited to be home. I like being in a place where I can know my schedule. Because I was trying to have meetings, stopping literally at Sonic's on the way, hoping to get Wi-Fi. And dude, it stretched me. It taught me some new lessons.
Where'd you record your Impact Theory video?
So that was at a buddy of mine's aunt's house who lives in McKinney, Texas. So
that's awesome. So that is so cool because that just shows to people not only what we're going through during these challenging times, but it's about adapting, and I think that's awesome. Dude, I know I sent you a text the other day, but dude, you killed it. I thought your episode was awesome, and I think it was really cool. But I wanted to, before I jump into something else, one thing you said, and I wrote it down, is a smooth sea makes not a skilled sailor. Yeah. I've heard, gun to my head, I've heard similar things, but I've never heard it that way. And the way you said it so smoothly. I've written it down in my journal. I've actually told a couple people about it. I think it's so just elaborate on that for a second, because I think it's amazing how it fits into what we're going through today.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. It was a fun podcast. I got to talk about some things I typically don't talk about, which is good because there's part of the core of me who there's areas that I don't choose to not address, but they never come to the light. So I'm glad Tom wanted to dig in a little bit of that. But the smooth sea makes not a skilled sailor is this perspective I have of a lot of people avoid rough seas in life, right? If you think about it, we're trying to avoid pain, and that's just what we do. We sell things to people to have them avoid pain or to seek pleasure. And what I found in my life growing up in foster care and a lot of craziness I've experienced is I'm actually appreciative of the hardships. I don't like them. We don't like them, right? But I'm incredibly appreciative because it taught me how to handle rough seas. So a lot of people are trying to find ways to avoid rough seas. And I'm like, let me go in because I'm going to learn some skills to where that rough sea becomes an easy sea. And that's the separation between those who want success and who have success is the people who have success. We don't have any less rough of seas. There's almost rougher seas, but we're skilled sailors. So I understand how to navigate in these murky waters. And some people, they get stuck down here because they don't know how to navigate the oceans. And so for a lot of people, anybody listening right now, learn to be able to go into, without even knowing, scared, I'm going to go into this ocean and figure out how to navigate it. When you do that, it sets you up for not only navigating that rough sea, but having a skill set to navigate other ones later.
Yeah, dude, I think what we're going through now, in not only just in the last couple of weeks, but also since March, is I think that's so true in the sense of it's what happens during those tough times. And you hit it best, is the most successful people, they go through more failures than not. But I think the challenge is we see their highlight reel, especially on social media and other areas. But I'm super glad you shared that. But I just wanted to touch on real quick. You're one of the 8 speakers we have this Saturday for the We Rise by Lifting Others Up Forum. The theme and the subtitle is Stronger Together. And
what's the link?
For anybody that's watching now,
link.
Yeah, I'll throw it into there. And then the other perspective too, it's in my bio as well. But the coolest part, I think, is it's free. All it takes literally is 30 seconds to sign up. It's 10 a.m. Saturday morning, Eastern Standard Time.
Yep.
The link's in my bio. I'll put it out as well. But I really, really appreciate it. But I wanted to ask you real quick if you could just touch on for a second what you think, stronger together means and why you think it's so important that we're kind of touching on this, especially during these challenging times.
Yeah, and I'll talk about it Saturday. And those of you guys who are tuned in here, these are the kind of things where it's free, it's big, and people hear free is like less value. And I promise you, free does not always mean less value. It means more heart. So if you're in this space, you're here to tune in, or whatever you're watching a replay, you're like, I don't know, about like 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on Saturday. It's Pacific, right?
Eastern.
So so 7 a.m. It doesn't matter. Get up early. Your life needs it. But whatever it is, pop on and watch. Like I liked what you did with it because you made them short, concise, and very poignant, which is big. Because in our society, some people got short attention spans. But if you're in a place you're like, man, I'm missing that little nugget of information, something that could be better, but I don't know what it is. And like you said, what does it mean to be stronger together? That's the whole concept of this. I think there's 8 speakers. And I like that. It's like that was our discussion. What are we gonna, or is our discussion is what we can be when we're stronger together. And societally, I know we hear that, but I don't know if we know what it looks like or how to practice it or how to execute that. So if you're able to tune in, which make yourself able to tune in Saturday, it's 10 a.m. on the Eastern, 7 a.m. on Pacific side. Tune in and be able just to unpack and hear like my perspective and the other people's perspectives on what it means to be stronger together, because your next level of success doesn't just come from the next book you read or the next seminar you attend. It comes from the people around you and who you are within those people to be able to take the information and apply it later on. I think that's the missing aspect is so many people don't realize that it's the human being. My man Mel's in here. I love that he's in here because he's solid dude. He's one of the strongest humans I know, man, fighting some awesome battles awesomely. And the thing is like Mel's one of the guys that makes me stronger, right? There's not just the information. It's the support, the accountability. It's doing things together, like they say with a pack of wolves. Like you're fast alone, but you go farther together.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And we changed a couple messages, but so my boy from KU, who's the strength and conditioning coach there.
Yeah.
Remy, back from so one of the other speakers. Yeah, so one of the other speakers, guy Fred Cordobaum, he's the assistant coach at KU. He's been one of my best friends for the last 20 plus years. He was telling me about, and I was like, I'm gonna send Anthony a text, and he's like, dude, he said that you're his guy, and I said that's 1 degree of separation. I think there's so much power in that. But again, it's Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 a.m. Pacific. So to your point, get up early. It's 90 minutes. There's a ton of value. But the thing that you said we were really specific is we wanted it to be short and concise. So I think for me personally, people, not only their attention span, but I think people try to overcomplicate things by adding to it and turning a 15-minute into 20 or 30 or 40. So I want it to be, those 2 to 5 minutes just, hits you, gets it. And I really appreciate it. And a funny note too, I jumped on Doug Bope's Instagram live before this morning, and he's like, I'm doing one. He was just his. I wasn't on it, but I logged on, and he's like, I'm doing Instagram live at 2:30 with Anthony. He and I are in the same time zone. So I texted him. I was like, dude, that's so funny. I was like, I'm doing one with him at 1 p.m. And he was like, oh, it's awesome. And we literally have overlapped a bunch of people. Have you been on his podcast too?
Yeah, I think it was on before. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
I believe so.
What's next on stage for you in the next couple of weeks? And
It'd be nice to get on a stage. It'd be nice to get on. I miss those days, man. My happy space is a stage. Those of you guys have not seen me speak, man. I get down on there. It's my second game. It's like when I get to go back and let it loose like I did in the football field. But right now, man, it's a lot of like today. I was looking through my schedule, and I'm not done until 4 p.m. I started at 8 a.m. and it's all interviews, all conversations with people, podcasts, talking. There's 2 one's about a TV show I could host, and then one's a conversation about organization. But like this is what I do. I love to get to the point of having these conversations and talking to people and learning things. That's what I do, man. It's a blast. And I got some cool things I'm creating. I'm working with some awesome clients, man. Life for me it's not bad. we have this craziness of the world going on, right? Which is, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, like, there's still this world I get to live in that I realize is not what the media shows it to be. And so there is a ton of stuff going on, but I think we have some cool spaces to still live into as a society.
Do you know Damon West? I think you do.
It doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, he wrote a best-selling book with John Gordon. He's a really interesting guy. I think Doug knows him too, but he does a lot with college football teams. So he works with Dabo Swinney and some of the big programs. But he was on our first forum, and literally we did an interview similar to this, and he was like, Chris, he's like, I've never worked more in my life. He said, I miss being on stage. I miss doing that. He's like, but the difference with stage, and you know this when you drive or fly somewhere, you're not doing stuff usually that day. He's like, I literally wake up and I look at my calendar and it's like 8 a.m. to like 7 p.m. and it's like half hour, 45 minutes, 20 minutes. He's like, I'll have lunch from like 11:45 to 12:10. He's like, then I'm jumping on at 12:50. Yeah, dude, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. And this is coming back from a road trip.
And Damon said something interesting too. He's like, I've never worked more for free because a lot of the stuff is, but he said, I'm building my brand, I'm getting out there. And I wanted to just ask you one question on that too. I found that even during these challenging times, for me, myself, I speak on stage and I do a lot of similar stuff that you do. And I lost obviously all my work, live events in May, June. Obviously July is pretty much, at least around here, to be determined. We're on Connecticut, New York. But I think the one thing that I've found, which has been really cool, is Zoom and technology has allowed me to connect with more people in a different way. Obviously, if you speak at a 2,000 person event, there's 2,000 people. But when you do a bunch of Zooms and you do, impact theory and podcasts, I've just found that I've been able to connect with a lot more people in a more condensed way. Have you found that too, Connie?
Yeah, I mean, very much so. It's interesting because with the people that are not going to events, people still yearn to be connected. That's just a human thing. You got people that are going stir crazy at home, and some are getting normalized to it. And I don't even know if it's a good thing, right? Because you're getting normalized to something that's not normal for humanity. We're built on relationship and connection. So I'm finding is, one, people are still yearning for it. Two, they're having to go to the one place they can, which is online. So for business, yeah, it's good because I'm in more interaction and I'm having more podcasts. I'm doing more free work, right? But I don't do this work only to get paid. Like, I do it because I actually love having the thoughts that I'm thinking and I'm drawing and I'm writing out serve somebody's life in some way. Like, it's beautiful to me. I love doing it. Like, I have these weird ideas and people are like, that helped me. I'm like, yeah. So that's a big piece of it. But I find that in doing what we're doing now, people who at first had like, okay, the online world exists, but I don't know what that's like. Because we're forced to go into Zoom, they're being introduced to new avenues to improve their lives now, which is access to podcasts and access to Zoom meetings, right? So what's cool is the world's going to open back up, but you're opening back up in a world that now has a more open perspective. Because before, I believe we were down to like, this is how things have to be, whatever I can see in this spectrum. This is what the world is. And now in this situation, we said, oh, wait, there's a bigger world. So I'm going to go into this world with a bigger perspective of what I can see. So I like that this has happened in a sense. Like, obviously, the people that have passed away, like, it's not okay. But societally, it's not as dark and as bad as we see. I think that's the thing is I consume my news from very specific sources and nowhere else.
Yes.
Just because I have different sides. I have one side that I trust, other side I trust, and I don't agree with one side, but I listen to it, and it allows me to have perspectives, and then I can move on with my day and live in the real world I'm living in. I have my bad times in the real world, but in the real world, I'm seeing the things like this is the real world. And so there is positives, there is nuances, there is things I can see. And so I just lean into those. And I also realize this, I create my world and my economy. A lot of people think that the world outside of them is all the economy's down. Yeah, well, maybe yours, but like the way that I work and how I do things, my economy is just fine. Like it's what I choose to work, what I choose to operate. And so that's also part of that stronger together, right? Whatever we as a unit, as a cohesive society can like put together our stuff together, like think about things, there's always opportunities. And so we are stronger together in creating that next world we want to live in.
It's interesting going back to Kansas University for a second. I was speaking with Freddie Q again, who's one of the speakers on our event on Saturday. And he said something to me the other day. He said, Chris, he said, the students and our players that left here in March and April, he said, they're not going to be the same ones that come back, meaning obviously a couple of them graduated or going on to professional, but he said the ones that are coming back, he's like, they're not the same kids. And he said they're not the same young adults. And I think that's the interesting perspective to me is I'm actually encouraged by a lot of the stuff I've seen. And you touched on something that's really key. It's you trusting where you're getting your content from. And I think that's the important part, because if you turn on the 6 o'clock news, you're going to drink, a fire hose of a very specific message. And I'm not saying in any way that exactly, but when you focus on where you get it from. So maybe you have a piece of advice for anybody watching now that's having a tough time with this, because I personally think there's still some amazing stuff out there. And if you focus on the right things, I think you see more of it and you get more of it.
Yeah, I think there's two very specific things I would say as action steps for anybody in this position here. One is to realize that at the end of the day, action ends suffering. No matter what you're doing or you're feeling, like there's got to be an action you take in some direction, because where your focus goes, energy flows. If I'm only focused on this one thing and taking an action, this one area of watching this stuff, my energy is just it's locked into that place and I can't move it. But if I take an action opposite, even if it's riding a bike, I have to focus on the road so I don't run into a car. My energy flows there. I feel more light. I feel more at ease, right? So find something to do in a new direction. And also this is really big, I think, for everybody, myself included, is don't be married to an idea simply because your pride wants you to be. So if I hear this thing and I saw it in the news and it is what it is, like I have a lot of people I'm talking to who have this pride that is blocking their ability to grow as a human, simply because they've had that view for so long, right? And so I'm open right now to like, here's my thoughts and my views, but if I'm going to unify society and I'm going to be stronger together with people, I really got to get to the point of entertaining ideas that are not my own. I may not absorb and accept all of them, but I'm going to entertain them. And I'm also open to the fact that I could be wrong, and that's okay. Like it's okay to have been wrong about something, because then you learn and grow. Because how are we going to make the next level of our children better if we display to them that I'm never wrong and my thought is always this and I'm always right? Like, no, because that's going to ruin their relationships, their spouses. It's going to ruin their partnerships with business. It's going to ruin everything. So be okay being wrong. And so as you go into taking action, take action, learn things, but also be open to hearing things and being able to lose your position to gain a better one.
That's one of the things that I love about what you put out there is you talk about learning, you talk about mistakes, you talk about putting in the work. And when you talk about your wife, you've shared your relationship on a lot of different platforms about putting the work. And you always talk about all the time, doing the work. And I think that's one of the reasons why you're one of the people that I follow on social media, but also, candidly speaking, that's why I wanted to ask you to be part of our event on Saturday, because that's the thing I think that people miss on social media. It's the highlight reel. It's why SportsCenter is one of the most famous shows, because it's the 30 seconds absolute best of that entire 60-minute game. And then the reality is, if you took your best 30 seconds every single day, and I took my best 30 seconds, it'd be great. People would be like, wow, that's amazing. But then you say, well, but here's the reality is we have 23 hours and a lot more minutes that didn't go well. But I just wanted to thank you for what you said, because that's what's the difference of becoming the best version of yourself. And I think at the end of the day, when you continually learn and you continue to build, but it's also, you have to be willing to use the term to man up, and say, hey, I'm good for this and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, you have to. And it's all communication. To be honest, it's a communication thing. I think society has a bad communication skill set with each other and with themselves. We don't talk to ourselves the way we need to. We don't call ourselves out when we need to. And then what happens is somebody else goes and does it, and we get mad at them. When in the root of you, like, all right, I can be better, right? But our pride, man, ego, I call everyone's greatest obstacle, EGO. Because when that thing rears up, man, like it's also your greatest opportunity if you use it right. But when the ego rears up, man, I see a lot of people just lose out on opportunities in life because their ego fell too far into the situation. There's a guy, because ego's pride. There's a Fabulous. He says, you can lose your pride over someone or something you love, but don't lose someone you love over your pride, which is your ego in that thing, right? It's a good verse. I'm like, oh, like, yeah, I can lose my pride over this person I love. Like I've lost my pride 100% in my marriage many times, right? But I'm not going to lose something because of the pride or ego that I have. So like be keen on where you're getting combative in situations, and ask yourself in the moments, if you can, so you don't ruin it, but like ask yourself, is this the real, like, logical right direction, or is my heart just like, I don't want to admit that? Because if it's just your heart, man, you have moments you can change it. Like you can make adjustments and adapt, and that creates a better space for your future. Because for me, it's always about how do I make the next moments of my life better, even if this one sucks.
That is powerful. Dude, so ego, everybody's greatest obstacle and everybody's greatest opportunity.
Yeah. Well, if you think about opportunity, this is actually part of my identity work is in the world we live in, the identity of who we are is protected by our ego's actions. Like your ego shows up in the actions, if you think about it, right? So I do something, whether it's I'm a great mom. So my actions are I'm going to get my kids up, take them to school, brush their hair, right? That's great mom duties. Same for great dad. And so like when I was a football player, my identity was I'm a great football player. So my ego said, you're going to get to practice on time, eat the food, lift the weights, run hard as you can. The ego shows up in our actions to protect the identity that we have. So it's also your greatest opportunity to do well. So it shows up in different areas. It can be a negative thing to block you from insight to grow, and you protect yourself there. But it also shows up to protect the identity as well. That's a positive one you've built on the inside. So it is your opportunity if you realize, because what happens is when you get to the level of success, it's just second nature to do certain things. Like if you think about, we go to autopilot. The ego is your autopilot. It's how do I act and react and think and process? Do I show up on time? Do I have my calendar? Am I sticking to that? Do I make excuses? Like that's my ego saying, no, man. You said you're going to be here at this time. You're going to get up on this time. You're going to get your work on. You're going to do these things because that's who you are. And when it's who you are, the ego protects that.
That's awesome. Well, listen, man, I know you probably have a million things to do, but for anybody watching this now or later on, your boy Anthony is going to deliver this Saturday between 10 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 a.m. Pacific. It's a free live event. The link is in my bio. All you got to do is register. It literally takes 30 seconds. You register, you get the confirmation email. Would love to see you on Saturday. Yeah. Spots are filling up. So, my man, I appreciate you. I know you're crazy busy. Tell Doug I said what's up, and I will see you bright and early Saturday morning.
Sounds good, man. Enjoy the rest of your day. Everybody tuning in. Take care, and God bless you all.
Thank you, brother.